Hey everybody, and welcome aboard. I'm glad you're with me here this Sunday. Just a little housekeeping. We'll be here next Sunday, but the following Sunday I'm away on spring break with the family, going to Arizona this time. So yeah, on the West Coast we call it spring break because it is spring. I know in other parts of the country they call it March break. But anyway, yeah, that's going ahead. So it's good that you're with us. I just want to go through a couple other things. Next week, I'm going to drive the new Mazda 3. Now, it's interesting because I got some emails from Mazda Canada saying, Zach, the press cars, the cars that we get to drive for a week are in the press fleet. And I wrote back, I said, well, why am I going to this launch if I can just pick one up locally? All-wheel drive. So the cars that are available for us to drive here now are not the all-wheel drive versions. And I think that's what most people really want to know about is the all-wheel drive versions. Also, after I go, so that's next week, then I go away for a week for spring break. Then the week after that, I go to Germany to a couple of events with Mercedes-Benz and maybe China. So I'll tell you all about that. Lots of traveling. All right, so let's get into the questions. Oh yeah, by the way, Instagram, Motormouth Auto, and the Facebook page. If you type in Motormouth, you'll find the Facebook page. Like it. We have a good little community there. People posting, I post, and people comment. So it'd be great if you could do it. All right, so Charlottetown Spud, a regular, thanks for being on the show again. I've been picking your brain about the Type R, the TRD Camry, and all kinds of other cars while shopping for my next vehicle. Finally made up my mind. I'm waiting on my black Veloster N. Cool. That is a nice car. And I think in PEI, they probably won't see many others. Dean says, thoughts on buying a new 911 Turbo versus a 3-year-old certified? Is there big savings? Now, I'm not quite sure if you mean the 911 Turbo, like the top model, or the new 911 that is turbocharged. So please write back, Dean, and let me know. The thing with a 3-year-old certified car, obviously there is some depreciation, and the car has an extended warranty. So you would have a 3-year warranty if you bought a 3-year-old certified car, and the option to buy more if you wanted to, versus a brand new 911 that would have a 4-year warranty. So that's something to consider. But the new 992, the brand new one, is, in my opinion, just so hot looking. And if you can afford a new 911, I think that would be the way to go. Martin Diaz says, Tesla has finally started to sell the cheap Model 3 in Canada. How well do you think it'll do here? Thanks for taking the time to answer our questions. It's always appreciated. Well, for those that are not aware, in Canada, the least expensive Model 3 is $47,000 Canadian, $35,000 US, and that's the base model. You're gonna have to pay extra to get a different color. You're gonna have to pay extra to get things like power seats and so on. So yeah, they're going to upsell you on those things. So here's the problem. You're basically over $50,000 for the cheapest Model 3. And there's going to be more electric cars coming from brands that have deep, deep pockets. I saw when I was just last week, what day is it? I'm so confused. I went all the way to Geneva and back. It's Sunday, so I just got back on Thursday. I saw the Polestar 2, the Volvo car that competes with that vehicle, and I got to tell you that the Polestar, in my opinion, is just a better looking car, much nicer interior. It's going to be right around the same price, around $55,000 or $57,000 in the Canadian market, with 500 kilometers of range, and I don't know. Tesla has, of course, the first to market advantage. They were not the first. Nissan with the Leaf was first, but they're the first mass producers of cars that people are actually waiting for. It's going to be interesting to see over the next 24 months when more manufacturers come out with all new electric cars, if they can keep that first to market advantage. And being at the Geneva Motor Show, it was supercars. That's what that show's known for, Paganis and what have you. But everything else was electric. And when the big brands come after Tesla with their ability to make cars on scale and deliver them at a price point, well, that's going to be interesting to see. Next question is kind of a follow-up to that. Excuse me. Aaron says, is there enough lithium to maintain the growth of the lithium-ion battery market? Just like oil, if you're old enough to remember, we are running out of oil. We're not going to have enough oil to fuel our cars and heat our homes and all that kind of stuff. The world is awash with oil. they've been able to find new ways to get oil and to find oil. So I would suspect there's going to be other mines that will come out and be able to get lithium. So I wouldn't overreact to that. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think, humans are resourceful. We can find it and we can mine it, and that's what I think is going to happen. Josh says, I heard the new Audi RS6 wagon is coming to North America. I'll give an E63 a run for the money. Hope to see high-powered electric wagons one day. Thoughts? Well, yeah, the RS6 wagon, in my opinion, is the drop-dead gorgeous car. I see them in Europe when I'm there, and it's just like, I just look at them and I'm like, wow, that is just a beautiful car. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure who's been asking the question over the last few weeks about the Volvo V90 and the S90, the large full-size wagon and the large full-size sedan. And it is confirmed, and somebody knew that and asked me about it, and I didn't think it was true. But yeah, this will be the last model year for the V90, the V90 Cross Country, and the S90 sedan. So that's a real shame because it's a beautiful car. But I think they're really going to be focusing on the V and S60. That's going to be their mainline car. Yeah, well, electric wagons, yeah, I think if they're going to be making and investing all of this money on electric vehicles, they're of course going to have wagons, especially for the European market. Hamad says, how is the Volkswagen Arteon doing in North America? I think it's one of the top cars. Hamad is in Sydney, Australia. It just arrived. There was a real delay getting the car here into North America. The goal was to have it before Christmas. It was delayed, and it's just arrived in North America now. So we'll have to wait and see how it does. We all know sedan sales are weak. So of course, Volkswagen comes out with a sleek-looking sort of Audi A7 alternative in the Volkswagen line, or the A5 Sportback. It really is between those two in terms of size. Beautiful looking car, great driving car. I drove it last year in Germany on the Autobahn. That was a lot of fun. But how's it going to do? It's not going to be a big seller. They know it's not going to be. And why was it delayed coming? Everybody's like, oh, there must have been something wrong with the car. No, there's this new worldwide emission certification that has to take place. And in the old days, you would get a certification for one car. It's like, say, Arteon, they would test one. Now they're testing every single trim, and they're going through it with a fine-tooth comb because of Volkswagen. So they've got nobody to blame but themselves. But yeah, it's taken a long time to get some cars certified. All About Vehicle says it's March break here. Yeah, I grew up in the East. I moved west, and it went from March break to spring break because the flowers are up here, which is nice. VJ Ram, hey Zach, I'm looking to buy an 18 Mercedes C300. The dealer has reduced the price by $5,000 off to $55,000 MSRP. How much more do you think I could negotiate on an older year model? So it's an 18. Is it brand new, or is it been driven, a demo? Perfect segue. Thank you, VJ, for bringing up Car Cost Canada. So what you want to do is sign up at Car Cost Canada, do a search for a C300, which is a great car. And then once you sign up, the first search is free. So you can go on and find this out for yourself. And also free, you can go 1 year back or forth, and you can see if there are any dealer incentives on the car, or manufacturer incentives, any kind of secret rebates, reduced interest rates, all those sorts of things. Now think about what's happened in the marketplace. New BMW 3 Series is arriving. Now, there was no announcement yet on a new C-Class, but C-Class will be forthcoming. And Mercedes-Benz, is in lockstep with BMW when it comes to sales. So yeah, I think that sounds like a pretty good deal. But what I would do is I would go and do the search on Car Cost Canada and find out. And you can always put in a cheeky bid. Like, you go to the sales manager and they say, okay, it's $5,000 off. Ask for $8,000 and see what they say. Paul Reed. Hey, Paul. Paul Reed is a great guy. Paul Reed is watching from near Blue Mountain, Ontario. And Paul Reed is one of the cameramen for Motoring TV. If you live in the Canadian market where I live, I'm on a show called Driving TV, but the granddaddy of automotive shows in Canada is called Motoring on TSN, and Paul Reed's one of the cameramen. So great to see Paul whenever we travel. I saw Paul in Quebec for the passport launch, and I saw Danny Bailey last week in Geneva. So yeah, they're great guys. And by the way, I'm going to get a picture. I'm going to put it up next week. Is Brad Diamond, the host of Motoring for 32 years, is coming over for dinner. So I'll get a picture of that and put it on next week. Hi, Paul. Hope you're staying warm there in Ontario. What do you think of the 986 Boxster for a summer fun car? Are they going for 10K these days? I don't think there's going to be many cars going for 10K in the Porsche world. You never know. I can't remember what chassis number that is. I know more than the 911s and the Boxsters. I think that's the original one, right? You always have to look at the intermittent bearing shaft, or anyways, the shaft at the back with the seal around it at the back of the engine. They can fail and the engine can explode and grenade. So you want to make sure that you do your research to find out if that has been changed or updated. Even when they're updated, they can still fail. So that's the big question mark. If they're going to be reduced, it's because of that hangover legacy thing from those older engines. So do your homework, find out if that has been replaced, and go in with your eyes wide open. You know, a $10,000 Porsche can turn into a $30,000 repair bill. I'm just saying. My advice for anybody that's looking to buy any used sort of premium car, German car especially, is save your money and buy the best example you can, because you can really just go upside down on that in a real hurry. Stefan, salute, Zach. Nice to see you back here as well, Stefan. Mazda 3 all-wheel drive. Yeah, next week I'm going to get a chance to drive that, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. We're driving from Sacramento, California to Reno, so that should be fun. Zach, have you had a chance to drive the new Kia Soul? No, I have not. There was a U.S. event that they took U.S. journalists to, but I'm hoping Kia Canada is going to have some information. I'm having a lunch thing with Kia Canada here in Vancouver. Just before the Vancouver Auto Show, they're doing a thing all about their electric vehicles, so I'll ask then. Mac Daddy, what are your thoughts on the Aston Martin 003 looks perspective? There was so much supercar stuff at the Geneva show. I was busy doing the mainline stuff and doing stuff with Mitsubishi that I didn't really, that's not the part of the market that I kind of follow, so I apologize. You know, supercars isn't my main thing. My main thing is cars people actually buy, not cars that people lust over. But hey, there's lots of outlets that do cover that stuff. Dr. JBN, Zach, welcome back. Can you please compare and contrast the RDX to the new CX-5 Turbo? They're both great products. And you know what? That CX-5 Turbo fully loaded maxes out exactly where the RDX starts, okay? So that's one of the differences. One is an extra year warranty. You're getting a premium car, so you get 1 year extra warranty. It's a slightly bigger vehicle. That is certainly welcome by some. If you don't need the space, then the the CX-5 would be a great product. You know what? My advice is the same for all of these things. Go and try them both and see what you like. Are you hung up on driving a Mazda and not sort of a car that has a bit more cachet, a prestige sort of brand? I know Acura isn't Mercedes-Benz or it's not BMW or Porsche, but it still has a prestige. It's there with my wife standing in front of it. It's a nice car. They did a good job. But if you're going to get a similarly equipped version, it's going to be about $10,000 more. So just keep that in mind. Go drive them, see what you think, and report back. It would be a really tough decision. I would have to go and spend the time and back and forth, and drive the two of them to see exactly which one I'd like. There's no wrong answer, by the way. They're both good cars. Why is there more questions raised about the used car market being dictated by J.D. Power and Associates, which was originally owned by Auto Trader and previously owned by Kelly Book? This is one of those this is like fake news, okay? J.D. Power does independent surveys, and just because they might be owned by or have been owned by different groups doesn't mean that it's fake. They do research. Dave Sargent is the vice president at J.D. Power. I interview him every year for my radio show, talking about their initial quality and their dependability study. And so I think that's a red herring. I think it's fake news. They do their own work. Kelly Blue Book or Auto Trader does their own work. I don't think, what's in it for them to push one brand over another? I don't see what the benefit is for them. The Mazda 3s are awesome. Only driven the front-wheel drive, though. Excited to see what you think of the all-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive. It's going to be interesting to see how if there's any noticeable difference. I mean, the best all-wheel drive systems are kind of hidden. It'll be fun to go on some twisty mountain roads to see how it performs. I would like actually to do a winter drive program with it. That would be kind of fun too. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And also the price. What are your thoughts on the Tesla Model Y reveal this week? Well, Audi just introduced their Q4, which is a little bit smaller than the e-tron. It's actually like the same size as the Q5 almost. And this is their electric vehicle. And the thing is, when you look at that and you look at the quality of the materials, the fit and finish, and what's going into that car, I think Tesla, if they came out with a compact utility vehicle based on their Model 3, yeah, of course it's going to sell. That's the hottest part of the market. If I was Elon Musk and I was going to bring out a car outside of the Model S, I would have started with a small utility, not the Model X. That's where the market is. That's what people want. And I think it would sell incredibly well. Back to my original point about Tesla. Tesla has a first to market advantage. But there are lots of stories online, I encourage you to search them, of quality issues. And the quality issues, the warts that come with a young struggling brand to work out quality control, often will come back and bite them, not initially, but as these cars stay out on the road a little longer. There's some video reviews I've seen of the panel gaps and the way the glass fit. It's just horrible. Like, I wouldn't, if I was going to take delivery, I would look at the car and say, I'm not taking that car for what you're charging, $65,000, $70,000. It's put together so shabbily, and the paint looks like it's been done outside with a spray can on some of these cars. Now, not all of them, but some of them look terrible. And that's where the mainline brands that have manufacturing expertise, have deep, deep pockets. It's going to be very interesting to see. But there you go. I saw, looking at the new I-Pace from Jaguar. That is a beautiful car, inside and out. VJ says, I'm from Ontario. Is it possible for one to buy a new car from a different province if no dealer has the stock options you want in my province? Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about it. What you can do is you can actually go to the dealer and ask them if they have an internal intranet that they can access where the vehicles are. And if you find a vehicle online, you can actually have the vehicle shipped to you. It might cost you, a little bit of money to get it shipped, but often the dealer will work that out with you, for not too much in order to get the exact vehicle you want. But that happens all the time. Vehicles are found in other parts of the country and they're shipped to you. So you're probably wondering about the taxes. The tax is paid when the vehicle is registered. So when you buy the vehicle, you will pay in Canada, GST, that's the federal tax. So that will be paid. When the vehicle is registered in your home province, that's when you pay your provincial sales tax, or the portion of the HST. All about vehicles. My grandmother fell in love with the 2019 Honda Passport, so she traded her 19 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk for the Passport Touring, and she has it 2 days and loves it. That's great. Both are nice cars. Quite a bit bigger, though. I mean, the Passport is much bigger than the Cherokee. Yeah, obviously, Grandma likes rugged-looking, off-road capable SUV. So there it is there, the Passport. This was really, you know what, if I was in the market for a mid-size mainline utility vehicle, I don't want a three-row. I don't want to go from a CRV to a Pilot with the 3 seats. I don't want that. So that would be right up my alley, a 2-row, 5-passenger utility. Pretty damn cool. Zaki says, what do you think about a Veloster N as a first car? Go buy one. This is a great question from Yuri from the Straight Pipes, tuning in. Yuri, good that you hear us. What kind of watch should I get? An Hublot. Yuri, for your style and taste, an Hublot would be perfect. I wouldn't touch a Hublot myself, but I know Yuri likes bling. He likes bling. He always wants, he wants the limelight on him. So, he wants a Prowler, and he wants a Rolex GMT with all the diamonds and everything on it. So yeah, an Hublot would be right up your alley. And you can pick one up for pennies on the dollar. Not pennies on the dollar, but by the way, an Hublot is a watch. It's the, in the World Cup when they hold up the sign to put players on and off the field for soccer or football, that always says Hublot on the top. Yeah, it's a Swiss brand. And they're flashy. So yeah, that would be your game. So here's a very quick story. I was at the Detroit Auto Show, not this year, the year before. and we're at the bar having a few drinks at the end of the night. This guy comes and sits down, and he tells us that he was the guy who started HGTV and the Food Channel in the United States. He's got some money. And I look at his watch, and I say, oh, is that an Hublot Tourbillon? When he gives it to me, and he goes, oh, it's a limited edition F1. So I start showing it around to everybody, and he lets us try it on or whatever. And then he leaves, and I said, you guys know how much that watch was? $150,000. So there you go. Hey, Zach, if it was your money, would you buy a Nissan Leaf Plus or a Kia Niro, and why? Same thing. You got to get out there and you got to try these vehicles. Now, you're getting to similar kind of range. The Leaf, by the way, with the sort of extended range Leaf, the Plus, is selling like crazy. And a lot of people look at Tesla and they go, Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. The best-selling electric car in the world is the Nissan Leaf. And now with this range that they've extended, I think that is a compelling package. They've been doing that car for a long time. The Koreans, though, with their new technology, are doing fantastic stuff. You got to remember, who makes the batteries for almost all electric cars? The Korean battery suppliers, right? You've got LG Chem, you've got Samsung, you've got all of these different part suppliers. Panasonic is Japanese, but they partnered with Tesla, but a lot of them are made in Korea or made with Korean companies. So they have a lot of proprietary stuff that they're doing really, really well. So get out there and test drive them. My issue with the Leaf is I think the back seat and the cargo area is kind of small. Test drive it for yourself and see what you think. Here's the thing is, if you're not hung up and you want to get a car right away, time is on your side. Like in the next 24 months, there's going to be so many more electric car options, so many more, right? What's Volkswagen going to do with their new ID cars? They showed the ID buggy in Geneva. But they're going to have, you know, a Golf replacement that's going to be electric, probably by the end of the year. What coming vehicle are you looking forward to this year? Oh, I can't think of any right off the top of my head. It's so busy. Like, I mean, it's crazy how many cars that there are coming out every year, and there are more and more. I mean, you look at a brand like you know, BMW or Mercedes-Benz. They used to have 3 or 4 cars. That was it. BMW had the 3, the 5, and the 7 series. Mercedes-Benz had the E-Class, the S-Class, and then the small, you know, what was it called before? You know, the small one, the baby Benz. And then they just multiplied, like they're breeding them in the back. So there's so many launches and so many vehicles to test drive. I just think it's just a fun thing to do. It's like, I always say to people, it sure beats working. What are your thoughts on the Toyota, the new Supra? Do you think they did a good overall? Do you have any problems with it? I think the problem is a perception people have of the BMW affiliation, but the Supra would not exist without that affiliation. The cost to make low volume sports cars is so great. Like, why would a car company bring on, if they don't make low volume sports cars now, bring that on as an expense? And the engineering and the research and development and the engine alone is like, these things start with a B, billions of dollars. So do platform sharing and engine sharing and co-development with a brand like BMW is the right way to go for them. The car would not exist without BMW. That's the knock against it. It's not Toyota enough. And when you sit inside of it, it looks like a BMW Z4 or Z4. So you got to wait to drive it. You know, the proof, as they say, is getting behind the wheel. But I think it looks good. A lot of people don't like the look of it. I think it looks great. Would I be happy to have a Supra? Hell yeah. I think it would be good. It's expensive. That's the problem. Hey, Zach, in Toronto, some information about compact SUV other than Honda and Civic. Any advice? I think if you're in the compact SUV space, you need to try the RAV4. I mean, you have to try it because I think that is kind of like the Goldilocks car right now. CR-V is getting a little long in the tooth, but still a good car. And I think the car that's sort of stealing the limelight right now is the new CX-5 from Mazda with the turbocharged engine. It's a great product. They did a lot of things really, really well, but they only have that turbo engine on the top 2 trims. And when you start looking at mainline cars, the RAV4 does a lot of things really, really well. So yeah, those are the kinds of vehicles you should be looking at. The Rogue is old. It's got a CVT. You know what? I would look at Forester as well. If you're just looking at straight roominess and comfort, it's a really hard vehicle to beat. And the new Forester drives much, much better. Oh, by the way, on the 1.5 liter engine, the turbocharged four-cylinder from Honda that has the dilution issue, I spoke to the head of product planning from Honda and asked about it when we were driving the Passport. I said, what is your kind of reaction to all the stories about the 1.5 liter engine? What they're finding, it's cold weather climates, northern United States, Canada, and parts of Asia like China, is when the engine is cold and it's driven for a short period of time, you get some fuel soak past the cylinders and into the oil. And that's why they're finding fuel in the oil, and that's where you're getting this problem. They believe that it's just an issue with the engine's not getting warm enough and not heating up quickly enough. So they're working with some of their customers to give them free oil changes and those sorts of things. I don't know. It didn't sound like a full explanation, but that's the explanation I got. DJ Pleasure, oh, I love this. This is the best name. DJ Pleasure Seeking Missile. Zach, I recently read a Motor Trend article that PSA, Peugeot Citroën, is announcing a re-entry to North American markets. Thoughts on French cars? Yes, they apparently are coming back. I think this is the stupidest idea ever. It's like, look at Fiat, look at Alfa Romeo, struggling to move cars. They have a dealer network already with their Chrysler network and their Dodge and their Ram, and they put a little boutique on the side and they sell Fiats and Alfa Romeos. So you have a dealer network already. The number one thing with them is a dealer network. Where are you going to get cars sold and serviced? Unless they try to do the Elon Musk route where they go direct to the customer, we'll have to wait and see. But is there a lineup of people like banging on the door saying, I need to drive a French car? No. When they left, they were crappy cars. And for people that remember, they were not good. Now, they have some beautiful cars. Like going to Geneva and walking around and seeing some of the French cars, they make some very stylish looking cars. But I don't see there's a lot of people dying to get one. I mean, just look at Maserati, look at Alfa Romeo, look at Fiat. You know, everybody that wanted one got one. Now what? That's the issue. Everybody that wants a French car is going to get one, and then what? And they spent all that money. What's happening with Subaru? Car sales have dropped 47% February here in Australia. Well, that might be the Australian market, not here in Canada. Subaru keeps, hitting a home run, knocking the lights out every single month, and they continue to do well. So Subaru, maybe it's geographic, but they're doing particularly well. I will say that I think styling is something that Subaru could work on. That's the one area of their cars where they just look kind of homely. Kind of homely. There's the Ascent there. The new Forester. I was walking the dog the other day and I looked at the new Forester and I'm like, it doesn't, like I wouldn't open my garage and go, ooh, but they're good cars. When is the new Audi Q3 coming to North America? Which would you choose, a Q3 or a XC40 from Volvo? It's coming in the second quarter, so that'll be just before summer. So I would say May, June. It is coming. It is great. I have driven it, and I would have to really do a back-to-back with both of them to see which one I like better. I got to tell you, right now, because the Q3 isn't in market, that Volvo XC40 is, in my opinion, the car to beat in the class. Absolutely, hands down. It's so well done. They did a great job. And the screen that I've much lamented is improved. Used to be really laggy and didn't like it. The speed, they've actually improved the processing speed by about 50%. But the Q3 is really nice. I encourage you to go and watch the video I did in Bolzano, Italy. So just go to the channel and type in Q3, you'll find the video. It's a great looking product. But this was back in September I drove it, so it's a bit of a memory thing, right? You're doing it from memory. But when it comes in, I think that's when you need to drive them both. But that is the vehicle to beat, is the Volvo. Ford new mini truck, thoughts for a courier. I was supposed to get the Ranger tomorrow, and it's stuck in a transport truck somewhere, so I can't get it. I'll get it back. Mike did do a review of it. So what you want is a courier. I was a courier for many years growing up in Toronto. My mom and my stepfather owned a courier company, and I drove all over. And I did that as my summer job. I did it when I was not in school. And it's a tough job. And the one thing about being a courier is you want comfort. You want capability, but you want comfort. I would seriously consider for a courier, depends if you do a lot of big loads. We used to call them van loads back then, which were heavier items. I would really strongly consider the Ridgeline for comfort, right? So it's capable enough, it's big enough. A Tacoma would be a good choice as well. But yeah, I'm not sold on the Ford in terms of size. I think the Ridgeline for that application would be a great choice. Plus the resale value is killer. Best resale value is Tacoma. Josh says it snowed about a foot in Montreal today. I've got to say an all-wheel drive sedan is pretty good, but nothing beats a Range Rover Sport Diesel. And the snow. Is Cayenne capable? Yes, the Cayenne is very capable in the snow. It's funny because I was just driving our Cayenne. Oh, wait a second. It's funny because I actually have it on my little switcher here. There it is. So our Cayenne, those are the summer tires, and I was just about to switch them back on today, but I got busy doing something else. But Cayenne is very capable. It's a good all-wheel drive system. We did a winter drive program with Porsche recently, and they're really good cars. So yeah, Range Rover, Cayenne, I'll take either one. But I love the diesel. That's the one thing about Range Rover right now. Everybody else has gotten out of diesel. X5 not sold as diesel. GLE not sold as diesel. Cayenne not sold as diesel. Range Rover still selling the diesel. And an interesting thing in the Canadian market is that Range Rover is actually, for residual value after 4 years, they maintain their value really, really well. A lot of people are going to go, oh, come on, like nobody wants to own one of those used. But the market is speaking for itself. They're holding their value in this market anyway. Bruce says, when you buy a new vehicle, you have so many choices. Why not tires? Not necessarily the brands, but the type. Other than Vancouver, why are there no options to have at least all-weather tires? I think it's, yeah, you know what, that's a good point, but when they're manufacturing cars, they're not going to do specific runs for specific climates, right? So they're going to have 2 or 3 tire suppliers. So when a car goes down the assembly line, you could have a set of Continental tires, you could have a set of Michelin tires, and you could have, you know, another brand like Pirelli, right? And they put them on, or sometimes a Korean manufacturer tires. So they have different suppliers because they have to have flexibility. If one is slow and they can't make enough, they can get them from somewhere else. But to have then narrow it down to have, okay, Canadian cars are going to be fitted with all-weather tires. You know, I think that's just basically a production issue. I would love, for example, you know, Toyo makes a great all-weather tire called Celsius, and they have really good ratings in winter conditions, but they drive like an all-season. So yeah, maybe we might get there one day, but I think for most people it's going to be all-season tires. Yeah, I think it's just a manufacturing thing. To have that many variables is going to be tricky. Mohammed says, hey, from Toronto, some information about compact, oh, I think I've got that one already. Pilot V6 with traditional transmission versus Ascent Turbo CVT, which do you prefer? Well, the Ascent is a 3-row. That's one thing. You know, the Passport is a 2-row. It really comes down to what you're looking for. This is going to be better on gas, right? The price is less expensive. You know, this starts at $36,000 and that does not. I'm trying to remember what that price was. It's a bit more expensive than that. But yeah, the Ascent, in my opinion, is more of a soft roader, and this is a little bit more rugged. Now, one big complaint when we put the video up was the wheels. It comes standard with 20-inch wheels, and anybody that does any kind of mild off-roading, you know, 20-inch wheels are not what you want. You want a thicker sidewall, right? So you want to go with an 18-inch wheel, which you can get with this. Then the other thing is the tires are expensive, and then we'll put winter tires on, they're even more expensive. So yeah, they're a different product. You know, you're trying to compare apples and oranges. They're both SUVs, but they're quite different. I am a big believer in a conventional transmission over a CVT, just personally. So if it was me, I would go with the regular automatic. How much over invoice would you pay? Car Cost Canada info. Well, here's the reality. How much do you think dealers make over invoice? What do you think the number is? How much profit do you think there is in a new car? It would surprise you. it's anywhere from like 7 to 10%. It's not much, right? And they got to keep the lights on. They got to pay the sales guy some kind of commission. So there's not much in new cars. Dealers make more on used cars because there's more flexibility there, and of course repairing vehicles. But yeah, Car Cost Canada, if you're going to go there, they can actually help negotiate the deal for you. So they go to preferred dealers and say, listen, we've got somebody who wants to buy, say, pick the Honda, and they want one, and what can you do to help them out? So what I would do is, if you're not sure what to offer, contact Car Cost Canada as part of your subscription and say to them, this is the car I want, and this is, can you help me get the best possible deal? That's my advice to you. What do you think of the new BMW 340? The reason I ask is comparing it to the Audi S4. BMW's inline six-cylinder engine is, and that's why a lot of people were so off, or in my opinion, are totally off the mark on the new Supra. That engine that's in the Supra, and the car you're talking about, is like one of the best engines you'll ever get a chance to drive. So people who are talking out their ass who don't know anything about that engine. So yeah, maybe not the most reliable in the world in terms of, you know, some Japanese cars, but hell yeah, what an engine. The S4 is a great car, the V6 with the turbocharger, but the inline six-cylinder from BMW is a masterpiece. Do yourself a favor and drive them both. I would personally, if I was into a performance car, I was driving today and I saw a beautiful silver M2. Perfect. Like, it was just gorgeous. You know, I think the inline six is the way to go. Engine options for the new Audi Q3. There's only going to be one engine. It's the 2-liter turbo with, what was the number? 252 horsepower? I'm doing it off the top of my head, but that's the only engine. And the thing is, the current Q3 has the old Tiguan engine, like not the Tiguan that we have now, the old one, only 200 horsepower and a 6-speed. So this is an 8-speed, and I think it's 252. So much better engine. Wheels and an engine. What are your thoughts on the new V60 Cross Country or an Audi Allroad? I would buy CPO, feel like I can get a better deal in a couple of months in a Volvo. Love the channel. Yeah, they're both great cars. I, having had a chance to drive the Volvo, the thing is you're getting more power. Like if you get the T6 with 316 horsepower versus the Audi at 252. So if you're about the power, then you're going to be more attracted towards the V60. But I think that the Audi feels a little bit better. Like I enjoyed driving, and the video of the S60 is going to be coming out this week. But I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. But if it was my money, that Audi's pretty sweet, I gotta say. And the other thing is that the 316 horsepower was good, but it didn't blow me away. That's all I'm gonna say. Have to replace my Kia Sedona, thinking either Sienna, Pacifica, or Sedona. Need an all-wheel drive Sienna. Don't need an all-wheel drive. What are your thoughts on the Pacifica? Big question mark about Pacifica is residual value. The biggest expense of owning a car is not insurance, it's not gas, depreciation, okay? And Sienna won this year for Canadian Black Book's Best Retained Value Award. So it's the bank of Toyota, it's the bank of Honda. Put your money in, take your money out, and that's why I would choose those over the Kia. Nothing that's anything wrong with it. It's a fine product. It's about getting your money back when you go to sell it. And you'll see that with your used Sedona. What's it worth, right, in the marketplace? And you look at the equivalent year of a Sienna or an Odyssey, totally different story. Stefan says, Volvo not reliable. The other thing about the Volvo is that, you know, they're still fairly new to the turbo supercharged 4-cylinder engine. They have had a lot of complaints about their head unit. As I mentioned, they have updated the speed of the head unit with a much better processor. But you know, back to the whole thing, like I would go for the Audi. I agree with you. Par says, hey Zach, how reliable are the 3.4-liter flat six and the 06 to 07 Porsche Cayman S? They're around 30,000 now. Is it a good buy? The same issue. If you're looking at a flat six engine before 2009 from Porsche, they all have the it's right on the top of my head, the intermittent bearing shaft. And Oh, it's driving me crazy. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, the same issue, okay? The shaft with the seal around the back end of the engine, they can fail, okay? So up to 2009, if you can get an '09 and newer, you get direct injection and you get that issue solved. Same thing. You have to go in with your eyes wide open and see if that's been done. You have to get it inspected. You have to take it to a Porsche mechanic that knows what the hell they're doing. They're great cars. But you know what? That's the issue. So you're looking at an S, a lot of fun to drive. The other thing is you're not getting, if you're getting an automatic, you're getting a Tiptronic, not a PDK. So once you get into the newer years, I think it's '09 is when PDK started, that's the one you should shoot for. But look at the difference in price. You start shopping at a '07, '08, and then you go '09, there's a big jump in price because it is a better car. Would you rather drive a Chevy Blazer all-wheel drive or a Ford Edge for sporty yet not expensive mid-size crossover? I'm getting the Ford Edge ST soon, and the Blazer I have not had a chance to drive yet, so I can't exactly say. I apologize. The Ford Edge, the only problem with Ford is like their interiors are just so, ugh. There's just plastic cheap on the inside. That's my issue with Ford. You know, they sent a survey to me and said, what do you say to people about our cars, and what is your recommendation, and what do you say? I said your interiors are crap. You need to, like, Ford needs to work on their interiors. Hey Zach, Joe from Vancouver, which would you consider for a first-time driver? WRX SI from Civic, an Elantra Sport, all manual transmission, save the manuals. I would say that in Vancouver, Elantra Sport, WRX, I would say Civic SI. Civic SI is a wonderful car. It really is a great car. If you don't need the all-wheel drive, the WRX is now long in the tooth. They're going to be coming out with something on the new global platform that we've seen with Crosstrek and all of their new vehicles. But that is a legacy platform, still a great car. If you don't need the all-wheel drive, I think that just as if it's a manual transmission, Civic Si is a wonderful car. Do yourself a favor and drive a GTI. That is another car. If you're going to buy a fun little hatchback car, manual transmission, GTI. Which car infotainment systems impress you? Chrysler, their Uconnect system is pretty simple and it works. General Motors, it's interesting. It's the mainline car brands. Some of them do it really, really well and some don't. So I think the Chrysler's Uconnect system is surprisingly good, and a lot of brands could take lessons from them on simplicity and how easy it is to use. General Motors, a lot of their infotainment screens, they're kind of large graphics and a bit cartoonish, but man, they're simple to use. I would say the Korean brands, Hyundai and Kia, do very simple, elegant integration of the way they work. And the one thing I like about Hyundai is they have hard keys. So you have the screen, and below it you have radio, nav. You have actually hard keys to switch back and forth. I like that. In premium cars, the worst when it first came out was BMW's iDrive system, but the new iDrive, the latest version of iDrive in their cars is fantastic and very simple and easy to use. I would say the last version of Audi's MMI, not the MMI Touch with all of the screens they put on their new cars, I think it's a bit overkill, but the previous version, like what you can get right now in the Audi A4, simplicity, easy to use. Those are some that kind of come to the top of my head. Hi Zach, I'm looking for a fun weekend car for going on road trips. I checked out the 2018 340, nice car, budget 60. What other cars should I look at? Does leasing make sense with the BMW? Yes, leasing is the way to go with these, especially BMW. They're so aggressive on their leases. You can get a hell of a car, but the only problem is if you're only going to be driving it for road trips in the summer, how many miles are you going to put on it? You're going to be paying for a bucket of miles, right? So you're paying X number of dollars for this many miles per year. And if you're not going to use that, then you're overpaying. So if you're only going to do a low mileage lease, you can get a good price on it. But that's a great car. I don't know, do you need to take passengers? Do you have kids? All those sorts of things. So those sorts of things, you need to let me know. If you just want a fun little sports car, you can get a Boxster S, a 2013 for 60 grand. And that's a hell of a car. Will you be reviewing the A-Class sedan? Yes, I will. Sorry, it's jumping around here. You know what's interesting is that new Mercedes-Benz user experience. What is interesting is that, you know, how cheap it must have been for them to mass produce that, to put it in their least expensive car and also their most expensive cars. So whatever proprietary sort of programming they have, that they can do it on a mass scale to bring the price down. It's quite impressive what Mercedes-Benz has been able to do that with that. I heard Cadillac is not discontinuing the CT6. Have you heard what their plans are in China? Well, I don't know if they're going to continue making the car for the Chinese market. We'll have to wait and see. From last I heard, the CT6 is disappearing. Great car, by the way. Here's the thing. When that car, when it ends, there's going to be some screaming deals out there. Recently rented a Range Rover Sport and loved it. Is the reliability a nightmare? I'm afraid of all British cars. Reliability is still below the industry average, but they are improving. That's the thing is everybody's moving up, right? And the gap between the top and the bottom is compressing. So yeah, so even though you might be below the average for everybody, that has improved dramatically over the last few years. So the other thing is, that's why leasing these vehicles is such a great idea. I call it the 3-year test drive. Lease the car for 3 years. If you love it, you've had no issues with it, then you can buy it out. If it's been a nightmare and you hated it, and you give the keys back and walk away and get something else. You already know what the value is. It's written down in the contract, so there's no risk to you, right? So yeah, that's why those sorts of cars are really a great idea to lease. Why does Car Cost Canada ask for my phone number when I sign up? I don't know. I have no idea. That's obviously their sign-up procedure. Any news on the 2020 Golf R? I spoke to Thomas Tetzlaff from Volkswagen. I saw him in the Geneva, and I said, when is the Golf going to be released? Because there is a new Golf coming, but they're also going to be introducing their new ID car, and they don't want to show one to pull the rug out from the other. Like, they really want to go headlong into their electric cars, so they don't want to show a new Golf and then say, oh, by the way, here's the electric car. So I think they're probably going to wait on the new Golf, maybe until the spring of next year. Maybe, I don't know though, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the ID is going to be the big thing from Volkswagen in this next 12 months. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Henrique says, did you manage to fix your light board from the last live show? Well, I got a new LED light panel, and I was using the batteries because I wanted to see how long they would last. So it's just over an hour. But then I was putting them up for this live show today, and I looked in the package that it came with, and it's got a plug. So it's plugged into the wall. So I still have the batteries for when I go out and I need them, but yeah, it's plugged in now. And they're great. These light panels are so cheap. You go on Amazon, you get it for next to nothing. When they first came out, like a light panel like this big was like $3,000. Now you get them for $100. It's crazy. Yeah, the IMS bearing. Son of Tamriel, thank you. Intermediate. What's the IMS stand for again? Oh, it's right in the tip of my tongue. Yeah, the IMS bearing is what you look for in a Boxster engine, whether it's the Boxster or the 911. So there you go. Intermediate. It's right on the tip of my tongue. So, Son of Tamriel, right back what IMS stands for again. What is the most quiet and comfortable compact car? The most quiet and comfortable compact car is the Buick Verano. You want quiet and comfortable? I think they've stopped making the Buick Verano, but that is a quiet and comfortable car. And you can probably pick one of those up cheap, cheap, cheap. But if that's your top consideration, another car that's quiet and comfortable, and they just made the last one this week, is the cousin of the Buick Verano, Chevy Cruze. Would Car Cost Canada work for high volume dealerships? High volume dealerships work on incentives for amount of cars sold. Yeah, basically, you know, a high volume dealership is looking for deals. They're wanting to move volume. So here's what happens with Car Cost Canada. You go in there and you say, hey, I'm looking at a Honda Civic or a Ford whatever. And then you go in there and you actually let the dealers know that somebody is looking for this car, right? So the general manager, the general sales manager gets a notification that says somebody's actually looking for this car. Then they're incentivized to sell you that car over going down Bob's dealership down the street. So yeah, the dealers that work with Car Cost Canada have a good relationship. They want to move product, and there's no haggling, right? It's all kind of done, and you can use the people at Car Cost Canada to do that for you, to make the introduction. And you basically go in and sign the paperwork and drive the car away. So try it out. I don't think this. I think it's like having a good accountant for your taxes. You pay some money, and Car Cost Canada is inexpensive anyway. I think you can get 5 or 6 searches for under $50. It's not that big a deal. But what you're doing is basically getting the best accountant to buy your second biggest purchase, which is a car. So why wouldn't you use it? I think it's a great idea. Big Pizza Pie. I think Moisture Seeking Missile has the best title, but Big Pizza Pie is pretty good too. Hey, Zach from Montreal. Love the channel. Keep up the great work. Thanks for tuning in. Any info on engine options for the Q3? That one was already answered. Kia announced that the Kia Soul will no longer be imported into Australia. That's too bad. It's a great car. I love the Kia Soul. I've sold a lot for them. I put so many people into that product. It's a great product. Should I buy a 15 CRV or a 15 Subaru Outback with the 2.5 liter? They're very different. One is a station wagon based utility, and the other one is a utility. So if you're more into handling and ride comfort, the Outback is the one for you. They're both great products. Both of them have a CVT. The 2015 CRV, what year did? Yeah, that has the 2.4 liter. So that's a good car. When did they change it over to the CVT? 2012 is when they brought out the 6-speed automatic. So yeah, off the top of my head, I would probably go with the CRV. Are Corolla, Mazda, Hyundai automatic transmissions reliable? I'm not sure what area you're talking about, brand new or used or whatever. I own a 2010 Acura TSX 2.4 liter auto, and I'm considering 2019 Camry Hybrid SE. What are the main differences when it comes to driving dynamics? Well, first of all, the TSX is one of the great cars. Okay, you have a great car. That is a great car. For those that are not aware, the TSX was the European Honda Accord with the 2 liter, was it 2.4 liter? Yeah, 2.4 liter. The only issue I ever had with the TSX, engine noise. It was a bit noisy, especially on the highway. And Honda was really bad with engine noise for a lot of years. Even with their Civic line was very noisy. But that is a great car. You are not going to get the same kind of handling dynamics. That's one thing that Honda and Acura do better than Toyota, is the handling dynamics. So yeah, you're not going to get the same kind of feel. Plus, you're going from an automatic transmission to a continuously variable transmission. However, what they make up is with torque from the electric motor. So it's a very good product. It's going to be a very different driving experience than your TSX. TSX is a European-derived car, nimble, fun, right size, great engine. It's going to be quite different. But still, it's a rewarding car because you get that electric torque. Thoughts on the 11 to 15 GTI for a young driver? Anything to look out for? Love the channel. Anytime you're buying a used car, and especially a German import car, please do your homework. Please get the car inspected. You have to do a few things. You have to get the vehicle inspected by an independent mechanic. So if Bob's Volkswagen dealer is selling it, and you want to send it over to Larry's Volkswagen and get him to inspect it, make sure they don't own both, and you're going to pay about $150 to $250 for what's called a pre-purchase inspection. You don't have to go to a Volkswagen dealer. You should go to somebody that knows Volkswagens though, and get a pre-purchase inspection. If the car, you pay for it, so you're the only one that gets to read it. And you're going to open up and you're going to go, oh, the brakes have only got 30% left, the muffler's got some rust, or whatever the issues are, right? That gives you a negotiating tool and also gives you a state of the condition of the car. Pre-purchase inspection, you have to do it. And then you also have to do a Carfax to see if the car has been in any accidents. You can go one step farther depending on where you are, if you can do an insurance search as well. So please do your research, because these cars can be fantastic and they can also be a nightmare. So go in with your eyes wide open, buy the best example you can. So spend the most you can on that car. The best example, the best mileage, the best condition, all those sorts of things. It's much better to spend a little bit more when you buy the car than to have it in the repair shop all the time. What are your favorite Canadian car-related YouTubers that you follow? Everyday Reviews, my buddy Brian Chow, of course. Thoughts on the Prius all-wheel drive E? Is the all-wheel drive E option really worth it? It's not expensive. I wrote a script for the TV show, and it's not much. Like if I was in the Canadian marketplace and I was getting a Prius, I would get the E. It's an electronically controlled it's an electric motor at the back. Same thing we do with the Highlander. So you've got to remember, when you're driving your Prius with all-wheel drive or the electronic all-wheel drive, you're driving the front wheels like you do all the time. It's only when you get into slippery conditions where that rear electric motor is engaged and gives you extra traction. I can't remember, I think it's $1,500. It's not that much more. And trust me, in the resale market, that's the one that people are gonna want. If there's two Prii sitting used on a lot, and one is a front wheel drive and it's 5 years old, and one's all-wheel drive, which one are they going to buy? They're going to buy the all-wheel drive one. So spend the money. I think it's going to be a better investment in the long run. And so basically what you're doing is you're driving a front-wheel drive Prius, and the little electric motor is along for the ride for when you need it. Could you do a review of the Kia Soul GT when it's coming to Canada? I'm in Toronto, have a RAV4 in her early 30s, looking to buy a Kia Soul for my wife. I think the Kia Soul is a great car. Yes, when I get my hands on it, I will do that, for sure. And it's a great product. I'm not loving the rear design, though. That's the only thing. The lights at the back. It's just, ooh, that was such a great car. They kind of screwed up the lights at the back. But that's, in the eye of the beholder. Hey, Zach, I'm in Toronto. Some information about compact SUV. Oh, somebody already asked that already. The new Hyundai Sonata looks great. Hyundai needs to do some work on the dashboard and steering wheel. Disappointed. Is the Passport all-wheel drive tuned differently than Acura's super handling all-wheel drive system? Yes, and I asked this very question to the head of product planning there at Honda. I said, what's the difference? The mechanical part of it, the actual physical part of the all-wheel drive system in, say, a Pilot or a Passport and an Acura MDX is the same. How it's tuned. It's a much more aggressive torque split for the Acura products to aid not only in traction but also handling. Super handling all-wheel drive. So the focus is more on handling, shifting that torque to the outside right wheel when you're turning around a corner, and actually grabs a little bit of the brake on the inside to help pivot you through a corner. Most noticeable when I drove this, the RDX, the A-Spec at the launch. It was really quite noticeable. Get it into a corner. You get to the apex of the corner, put your foot on the gas, and it really pivots you around the corner. So that is the main difference. It's programming, and the assertiveness of the torque split is what they do differently between Acura and Honda. All right, just scrubbing through a few things here. Ever reviewed a Mark III Supra? 86 to 92. What are your general thoughts on being a Japanese collector's car? I started reviewing cars in 1992. What was the year? 1992, yeah. I started reviewing them. However, that was at the very end of the Supra run, and they were very expensive, and they sold. You know how many Toyota Canada sold in the last year of the Supra? They sold one. They were very expensive cars, so there weren't many sloshing around to drive, so I didn't get a chance to drive it. Yeah, I think it's a collectible car. For sure, it's a collectible car. It's one of those cars that years down the road, it's going to be highly sought after. Mr. Alex Clarkson, hey Zach, watching your show from Israel. You're one of the best. I consider to buy a Subaru XV or something in that class. What do you think? Safety and comfort is the top of list. Yeah, the Subaru XV is the Crosstrek for the European, or I guess the Israeli market as well. And first of all, thanks for being up really late. And it's funny, I was at a dinner party last night, and the woman next to me, her family's from Israel, and we were talking all about Israel. It's one of those places I'd love to visit. I'd love to go to Tel Aviv and go to the beach. You don't want to see this naked, but yeah, I'd love to go to the beach. And apparently it's just like one of the best cities in the world is Tel Aviv. So that's the one place I got to get to. And put a pin in it. Yeah, so Subaru XV, so the Crosstrek, for the only issue I have with the Subaru Crosstrek or the XV is I find it a little bit underpowered myself. I would like a little bit more jam. Now, I'm not sure what the engine options are for your market. They do have a smaller engine in Europe than we get here in North America, so you can always email me your thoughts on that. But yeah, it's a comfortable car. I just find it underpowered. Hey Zach, which Michelin all-season tire would you recommend, especially for a compact mid SUV in the Toronto area? You know the best place to go? Costco. Have at it. So if you're looking for an all-season or an all-weather tire, if you're looking for an all-weather tire, I would do the Toyo Celsius. That's a great tire because a lot of the all-weather tires are noisy, right? In the summertime, they're noisy, but the Toyo Celsius all-weather tire is a great product because it's very quiet. But it actually, if you look at, I think it was Consumer Reports, anyway, they did the study and it actually rated as well as some winter tires. So consider that as well. But you know what I would do? Costco, man. That's the way to go. Hey, we're all out of time. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. And I will be here next week. The following week, I'm going to be in Arizona for spring break, and then the week after that I'm going to be in Germany. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. That's all the time we have. I will check back with you next week. Have a great week. Stay safe, and we'll speak to you then. Bye now.